Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Draw Juice universe. I'm Chris Petracchi, or if you're new here, please consider liking and subscribing and hit the notifications so you don't miss anything. And yeah, let me know out there if you can hear me before we get started. Just a quick little promo over at Draw Juice. I've got a big Christmas sale going on, up to 40% off on all courses and books. So if you're looking for some good learning material, really solid stuff, head over there and take advantage of that. And also, if you're looking for a community of artists, then consider joining the Discord. It's the Draw Juice Discord. There's some awesome stuff in there, people learning. We've got figure drawing, tools and materials, YouTube content, all good stuff. So yeah, link will be in the description. All right. So just checking the chat here. Today we're going to go through some critiques of student work. We're also going to finish up on the battle for creativity that we've been doing. We've been doing that for some months now. And so I think we're going to finish that up. But let me just check here, see if everything's working in the stream. It looks okay. So this is going to be the last one for the year, which is awesome. I'm going to say something hello. Hey, LRNK. LRNK, hello from Berlin. Awesome. Welcome. Great to have you. Let me know if you can hear me out there. So let's see. Let me just jump in here. The Battle for Creativity. This is a little handbook that I published to help people in the war of art, basically, and any obstacles that come up when you go to create artwork, you can overcome. And so, okay, awesome. Looks like you can hear me. Thank you, LRNK. Appreciate that. Okay, so just to review just a little bit, we talked about shape language last time, and this is a powerful thing to be able to understand and to use. And basically it goes like this. Every shape has some kind of emotional content to it, right? It conjures up a thought or a feeling and kind of a gut level kind of thing. It has a lot to do with the read, and the read is psychological. The read is kind of a gut level. It's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's kind of clear what it is you're looking at, and it's not about details on the paper, but it's sort of about emotional details. So what I mean is, if you use square-like shapes, right, their connotation is that they're strong, they're stable, they're boring, they're slow, okay? So if you're using, you have a character or a quality that you want to put forth and you want it to be strong and stable, and slow, a little dumb, let's say, you could use blocky kind of shapes, right? If you want something to look dangerous, fast, maybe youthful and slick, you can use triangles. And circles are friendly, right? They're welcoming. Triangles are kind of like, not sure, it's danger. Circles are friendly. Okay, so that's the idea. And if you just go down vertically, each one, you can kind of see the Hulk, right? Strong and powerful. The function, right, of the US post office delivery truck, right? It's blocky. Basically, it doesn't need to be fast. It doesn't need to be friendly or fashionable. It just needs to deliver the mail. So it's just blocky, right? It has a function. Get the mail to people's houses, right? Same thing with the cruise ship. Not very fast, not very slick. It just goes slow and it's delivering cargo. So it's big and bulky, right? Doesn't need to cut through the water. Just needs to be, just doesn't need to sink, okay? It needs to float. And the triangle. Again, you've got the wolf and you've got the horny lizard here. Those are all dangerous things. They're saying, go away. We're a predator. We can hurt you. Darth Vader, he's one big triangle, right? And so he's like evil, like the devil, right? The devil's got a pitchfork and horns. And so you can see the jaws of the shark, right? And then further down, you have some vehicles that are need to move fast, right? They're either race vehicles or weapons of some sort, right? That need to move quickly. And so they need to be aerodynamic. So they're narrow in front and wide in back. And then the circles, right? You've got everything cute. Puppies, rabbits, penguins, and that cute little car too. So round, the edges are beveled or non-existent. And you can even see these cartoons down here. Pretty cute and stuff. So I would suggest infusing that stuff into your work here and there when you can, especially when you're doing character design. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. Just let me check everything. Stuff's going good. How's my stream health? The stream is healthy. Okay. Let's see here. So let's move on. Or did we talk? Yeah, the psychology of shapes. So you want to ask yourself what impression you're trying to create, right? Is it friendly? Is it fearful? Is it, warm? Is it strong? And just ask, what's the attitude? Okay, that's a good one. What's the attitude? And so kind of maybe first figure out what you want to say and then use your shape language as an artist, as a designer, to infuse that into your visual drawing or painting. Okay, so we talked about functionality and basically, does your design look like what it's supposed to? All right, so we looked at imperfections and stress and kind of gives it a sense that this thing has history and character. So we just looked at a couple of things like these axes here. Which one looks like it will work and which one doesn't look like it'll work, right? And you can kind of see the axe and the character on the right are all scarred and scored and messed up, right? They got chunks taken out of them. Or actually this one here and this one here. Okay, so number 1 and B look like they will work. And A and number 2, they look too clean or they don't function, right? You can't grab this thing by the handle because it's got thorns on it. It's not going to work. So does it basically look like it'll do what it's supposed to do? And then let's look at materials lastly. Okay. Andre. Oh, this hunky-dory. Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Arsene Light. Hey, hello. Good to have you. Where are you from? Okay, materials. So what kind of materials did you use in your design? So if you use a variety of materials, that's kind of like visual variety is creates interest. The eye loves variety. So it's like eye candy. Okay, it's something that your eye just licks up and just can't get enough of, right? A little bit like sugar or chocolate. Um, so basically, if you're designing, if we're thinking about design, you can think about the materials. Let me give you an example here. So if you have this kind of futuristic soldier or just a soldier, if you're doing a character sheet or a character design, let's say for a game or something like that, movie, you don't have to draw a completely finished rendered character. You know, maybe you don't have time in the production schedule, but you can do a thumbnail like this and then do call outs, right? So you can even do this for yourself. This works fine. So basically what you have here is sketch in the middle and then reference, photo reference taken from the internet or stock reference that you've got on your computer. And you're just drawing a little line here that's saying this pack right here is made of this material. Okay, these knee protector, knee guards are made of this, okay, kind of plastic, right? The boots look like this. And you're just doing these call outs, right? This kind of vinyl material for the pants. This kind of gun. This will convey information to yourself, to your art director, your team, what have you. So it's a really quick way to communicate. And that, my friends, is we finished. We have finished the battle for creativity. If you want this, get your hands on this. This is on my website, and there's a sale going on now, so you can grab that there. But you know, just to recap, you're kind of in this battle, and you've got to know you're in a battle. That's number one. Know your allies, know your enemies, and use thumbnails to win. Okay, cool. So that was great, man. That took a while to get through that, but I think it's a great resource. And like I said, I used that when I was working as a concept artist in China, and that thing kind of summed everything up that I needed to work on games, be in a high-paced production, and as a production artist, concept artist. So very cool stuff. Wanted to share that with you. All right, let's see. Andre's talking to me here. He's got a question, but here goes. What side of the paper are you drawing on when you use charcoal pastel? Rough side or the smooth side? Yep. I like the smooth side myself. And I don't like the rough side. There's a couple of types of finish on paper. You have the linen and you have the laid. Okay, so just quick, the linen is kind of like this. If you look real close at the paper, it's like almost like cloth, like cotton. That's why they call it linen, but it's just a very fine weave. So it's almost imperceptible. So sometimes the papers look kind of like that. They'll have like a weave in there, and that's pretty fine and smooth, right? So like your Strathmore papers, or your all-purpose sketch kind of things work for that. And then you have kind of like your rough stuff, and the rough stuff is more like this laid. They call it laid. I don't know why, but it ends up being kind of like these rows. All the way across the paper, and then they have these horizontal lines going all the way through, and you can see them. And when you pass your charcoal or pastel over it, it picks up the peaks, right? The material's deposited on these peaks, right? Let me explode this up, right? You got peaks and valleys of the paper. And when you pass your charcoal over that, there's your piece of charcoal. It's going to deposit some of that stuff on the tops, right, on the peaks. And so you can see this through the drawing, right? And it creates kind of a noise. And I don't like that, but sometimes it's okay. But I kind of like the smooth. But if you are working in pastel and charcoal, since the material is very soft, you know, on the smooth paper, it's going to fill up all the peaks and valleys pretty quick, right? So then once that happens, there's no more tooth, right? So the tooth of the paper is kind of like this stuff, right? These teeth right here. It won't have enough. It'll get filled up. And when it gets filled up, right, on the smooth stuff, right? So this is like more shallow peaks and valleys. So you put stuff on there, but then when it gets all filled up, then it's not going to take the material, the pastel or the charcoal, too readily. And so just be aware of that. I might be able to look up a laid paper surface. See if I can just quickly find that. Does this work? Okay, so there's a laid paper. I don't know if you can see that. And so it's got all those sort of striations in it. Let me see if this is better. Is that better? Can you see that? See all those? There's these lines in here. And they're kind of really organized. So they come through as a pattern that you can see. So I don't like that. But some people do. And it works better for softer material like charcoal and pastel. And so I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Okay, cool. You're welcome. So if you're working on the fine, smooth stuff, just be light, have a light touch if you're working with charcoal or pastel. A light touch. And, sometimes they'll put, on a piece of paper, they'll put like charcoal dust and kind of fix that. And it'll go down, on the paper as this gritty, it'll make the paper gritty. It's very fine dust. And then it almost makes it like sandpaper. Like sandpaper. And then you can pass your charcoals over it and it has a lot of tooth, when you add this stuff to your paper. Okay. I don't use that, but I don't know. Back in the day, they used to use that more. Okay, so let's jump into a couple of critiques here. Okay, so all right, we've got this lovely drawing here. Let me just throw up a little background here. Okay. looking good. Looks good. The proportions look good. I think you did a great job. Proportions are good. Check. Okay. The parts are good. Proportions. The parts. And so we're looking for, if we're looking for like structure, which I think we are, and like finishing, rendering kind of stuff, those ones we kind of need to infuse in here, right? There's maybe not enough structure in here. So what do we mean by that? So anytime, if we don't put our structure in, kind of what I'm talking about is something like this, right? So we've got clear, plain description. There's an obvious front, side, top, and bottom. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's revealed by light interacting, okay? And basically that ends up being planes. And so as artists, if we can know the planes and describe the planes, and use value to reinforce that, then we're going to be very good. Okay, so a very simple planar kind of thing. But if you put that there, so let me just go here. So you've got these nice parts, right? So they look a little bit outlined, right? There's like a line around everything, and that's kind of good for a start, but we're kind of at the line stage. And for realistic drawing, that needs to be reinforced and things need to be integrated. Because the line by itself is kind of the concept of the face, let's say. And then if you add value, that's going to be the illusion. And that's kind of what we're going for in the rendering phase. Right? Okay, so if we have this is my little quick start egg. The egg is my quick start. Eyes are in the center, right? This is something I just do in my sleep. Eyes are in the center, the brow is up here somewhere. The alar facial groove right here, how that nose is connected into the cheek, right? How does the mouth integrate into the cheek? We don't know. We don't have much information there. The lips look good by itself. The nose looks pretty good. The eyes look great. You've even got eyelashes, but it's lacking that sense of integration of the parts. So, what I suggest strongly is to start with the planes. And that's just pretty simple stuff, It shows the front, the top, bottom, and sides. And it's good for you. Good. So, it seems a little perhaps off-putting to do this, but trust me, in the end, it works a lot better. to get clear like this, get some clarity. Because the advantage of it is that, it's clear, it's structural, and everything is integrated more. Right, so if I get my big planes, right, front plane of the forehead, side plane, where's the face? The front planes of the face, where do they stop and start, right? And so there, front plane, side plane, front plane, step down, side plane, right? Front, 3/4, and then side, like that. And so we're just getting really clear. So here we've got a little bit of information there, but it's sort of just smudging around for the sake of smudging. But we want to have a little bit more clear idea in some spots, you know. The more clear you are, the more your audience is going to be able to follow what it is that you're trying to communicate. Right, so if you have like the eye socket, it's kind of like it's like a hexagram, it's a 6-sided thing that works. There's other things can work as well. But that's kind of the idea. And then you can place the eyeball inside. And then moving down to the mouth, getting the chin, jaw, moving back up to the ear. So it starts out looking very generic, and then you bang it into shape. It's very rough hewn, generic, and then you tailor it, right, to make it look like whatever it is that you want it to. But everything is connected. You see how I'm connecting the cheek into the forehead here, like that upper cheek into the side plane of the, not the forehead, but the side of the head, temple. Let me just erase just a little bit right here. Okay. And then the nose is connected to the cheeks. We know exactly, kind of where the front plane is, side plane. We know where the side plane of the nose is, the front plane of the nose, right? And that kind of stuff. So that kind of gets us away from the parts. If we just have parts, everything looks a little stuck on, right? Stuck on, and it's not connected. And we need it to connect to live, right? To be believable. I'm not really putting in nose holes. I'm not putting any eyelashes yet. Oh no, don't do that. Just gonna go with this bottom plane, the bottom border of the eye socket right there. And so we're accounting for everything, kind of honest account of everything. And then just the mouth in here. The minute I put the mouth in, it starts to look good to me. Every time. I can line up the width of the chin, drawing a line from the nostrils down through, connecting the nose to the mouth to the chin, right? The chin fits in here and overlaps, right, the back part of the jaw. And so we've got that. And then we've got the philtrum here, so that philtrum is gonna be there, tell a story, connects the mouth to the nose. So it doesn't look like that person yet. This is still the unseen part of the portrait. It's the portrait that no one sees. And it's going to be covered over, right, by the particulars of this person, rendering, skin, hair, parts, right, nose, eyes, ears, and so on. But it's this kind of thing that gets you, then you know exactly where this shading, what it's doing, and you won't have to be too tentative about it. Because, we're all a little bit tentative at the beginning, and you look tentative in your shading, so then I would start to add these details like the ball of the nose, the wings of the nose. I can kind of figure out a little bit more the anatomy of the nose. So now I'm kind of putting in a little bit of anatomy. But first it's structure, planes. There's no light information really yet. I'm just spacing and placing things, making sure everything's there. Then I can put the hairstyle on top, whatever that is for this guy. He's got the cool young hairstyle. Right? Then you got the parts for the ear, the lovely disc. Okay, and so on and so forth, And then at the ends of the lips, right? Here they just end. Here you're just kind of scratching away. But there's something called the masculine node. And that's that little pouty little shade, that halftone you see right there. The mouth comes out, but it's sort of, the anatomy is rolling into this. It's rolling into the shadow from here. So there's a little masculine node there, they call it. And you've got the parts good though. Those lips look great. Right, philtrum connecting to the nose. Now I can put some sense of where these nose holes go. And then that's good stuff. And, again, I can put the eyes, start to build the eyes in there. Put the upper lid, lower lid, place the eye inside, and so on. All right, then we've got the iris in there. And then that makes shading a lot easier, and it makes things, again, connected. You did some nice work here with these overlaps, the jaw overlapping the neck, overlapping the trapezius. Great. Love that. That's great work. That shows depth and form. Love it. So otherwise it looks nice. There's an innocence there to that. So you've communicated the youth of this boy very nicely. So this is a nice job. The hair looks great, but you can, start to integrate things with the planes. So I would recommend just doing a plain, a bunch of plain studies, front, side, and 3/4, and do about, half a dozen to a dozen of them until it makes sense. It'll be a little counterintuitive to do it, but it'll pay off in the long run because you'll start to integrate this stuff through these concepts, and it'll make your drawings stronger, more believable, and that's what you want, I think. That's what we're all kind of looking for. Right? Check the comments here. All right. So nice job. Love it. Let's go to Chavi. All right, Chavi. You did a wonderful submission last time. That was awesome. Let's see. Looks like I'm getting some Russian bot kind of stuff over here. I can't read that. Andre could probably read it. Okay, so this looks like an oil painting. And it's looking good. Let's see. Make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Love these eyes. Love the shapes. Love the proportions on this Chavi. It looks sweet. Just squinting down and comparing here. And I think you could don't be afraid of the dark. Okay, that's what I like to call it. Sometimes students are afraid of the dark, and their drawings, in terms of value, right, they don't go into the darks. And so the structure is, a little bit lacking, right? So every time you add value, you're adding a plane, you're creating structure, right? So if I push into this a little bit, let me try to, let me get a brush here. So if I push in here, like with this bridge of the nose, right? It's a little bit flat here because there's not much delta, not much change in value, right? From here to here to here, very similar. So you need a little bit more change in the value to communicate that structure. So what do we want to do? We do that by adding value. So the idea is a different value. Every time you're adding value, you're adding structure. Different value equals a different plane or a new little structure. So making that, if we add some value, we're making that plane, that structure, more obvious, right? Get that? And that's the beauty. It's the beauty of it. So I'm just going to put it in kind of flat, and wherever I can, I'll just push in a little bit. Side plane, right? Imagine where, oh, you can't read it, Andre. Okay, thanks. You're just imagining where these planes would be. So if if we go back to if we go back to this thing here, this guy. Let me add to this here. And we have that. We can see the planes pretty good. Okay, I'll turn that off. And so I'm just kind of going to go according to the reference, but also my knowledge of where that cheek starts to turn. Trying to find the correct value. I'll just sample it here. You know, and give this thing a chance to live. All right, so I'm putting it in pretty flat right now, just to see it. That ear needs, it's in the shadow, right? So put it in the shadow. Don't be afraid of the dark. If I'm squinting and comparing, that thing is definitely in the shadows. Don't forget to squint, and look at that bounce light under the chin. That bounce light right there is too light, right? If I sample it, it's like up there, and the lights, it's up in the lights. So the old rule of thumb is your darkest light must be lighter than your lightest dark. So your darkest light in the halftone should be lighter than the lightest dark, and so that reflected light, that bounce light, is still in the shadow. It needs to be, even though maybe it's a lighter dark or lighter shadow tone, it still needs to be darker than lights. Okay. So all that, I'm just grouping that. It's like a family. Okay. And I'm looking, where else can I do that? Where else can I add? The lid, bottom lid, right? Right there. That's a plane. Anywhere else? Side plane of the nose. In this world, where's the light coming from? Coming from the camera right. So the light is coming from the top right. And so all the planes facing to the right and in front, right? Facing up and to the front, up and to the right, sorry. They're going to get the light, receive the light, and everything facing down and to the left, right? That's going to get the shadow. Shadow, 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 right? Okay, hope that makes sense. That's my light direction right there. So analyzing the light direction, Chavi. And just doing a little bit of pre-thought right there, because that helps us with some of the trickier areas of the painting, of the drawing. Meaning, if something's not clear, we can think it through and make it clear, right? Like this area where the nose meets the cheek, it doesn't jump out at you, right? It's not really clear a lot of times, but you know that there's a plane there. So you can just add some clarity to it, Okay, I'm just going through. I'm still grouping my shadows because all your details look beautiful, beautifully painted, for sure. Lovely light. I'm digging it. But they need to be integrated and pushed a little bit more in the value. So I want to make sure I get that underplane of the nose into the philtrum side plane. See that? And then the alar facial groove right there. There's an occlusion shadow. And then it's casting a shadow onto the cheek. And so following the laws of light and modeling factors, you know, you've got this nose that's kind of like a, I don't know, they call it a torus. It's almost like an inner tube, right? And it's rolling around and it has a core shadow and a cast shadow and reflected light. Let me just like point that out on the model. Just want to go a little bit darker in here. Clarify. And just ask yourself, does it make sense what I'm doing? And is it clarifying or clouding the drawing? That might be a good way to think about it. You know, this chin, if I just smudge some stuff here because I've got a shade, is it clarifying it or making it more noisy, less clear, less structural, less beautiful, you know, stuff like that. Okay. Try to just calm this down. Calm down. So let's look at that nose real quick. Because this is an area that I think is overlooked. And there's good reasons for that, but let's go in and check it out. Because it's not, you know, it's not very interesting. This little area here, at least for me. And so going in and just saying, okay, let's look at this thing. It's kind of like an inner tube. Right? It's going around like this, but it's sort of submerged and then it's covered over by a sphere. And it's, you know, it's dark. There's shadows in there. So let's look at it. So even in the darks, we have some modulation. Hey, Matthias Oliveira Arborn. Great day for you. Hey, welcome. Okay, so that's the little torusy thing I was talking about. Got your nose hole. Then you've got the ball of the nose. Philtrum right here, lips and stuff. So, as far as the light's concerned, you have an occlusion shadow that's here. Occlusion shadow is where the light cannot be received, right? So you have a lighter value here. You have kind of a core shadow right there. And then, you know, here you have an occlusion shadow. Here you have an occlusion shadow. And so you have bounce light right in here. That's bounce light, that sliver right there. And here, that's bounce light in the shadows, okay? Bounce light is ambient light. And then you have another core shadow. Let me do that in green here. Right. And you've got, you know, cast shadow here. And so here you have, you know, your highlight, the half light, all in here. And then your core shadow. You know, that's all that. And so, I don't know, hopefully that helps a little bit, like what's going on in there. Now you can see the bounce light. You can see the anatomy a little bit better, and it all kind of makes sense. So that's where I was going with that. And it's often in the shadows. It's hard to see. You got to really go in there and figure out what the heck's happening with this. And so, yeah, go in a little darker and do some of this stuff, right? Like I'll need an occlusion shadow for the nostril there. And then a little bit darker for that core shadow there. Maybe we could go slightly. But you don't want it to be too noisy because it's in the shadows. So if you go lighter, it'll be out of value and it will destroy the illusion of depth. And this is kind of hazy, not well defined. So, and I could push in a little darker into that occlusion there, just slightly touch that. And then I want to bring in some, you know, just a little bit more structure here. And that nasal passage is kind of like it's like a convex structure where air passes through. And so it's definitely, there's a side plane there, but it's not obvious, but it's definitely, there's an end to the nose somewhere, you know, and it's a gradual ending. Philtrum, and so on, so forth. You can see in the terminus of the lips here, it's very dark, you know. You can go in there and get pretty dark with it here. That light just cannot get in there. Even in here, right here. The crease, right? And so on. So that's how I would say is don't be afraid of the dark. You know, and then adjust your edges after you've kind of put stuff in. And remember, just before the halftones go into the shadow, it's going to be where you get the most chroma, the most detail, and texture. So it's going to get warmer there. Let me just get a little bit warmer. Right, a little bit warmer in areas like that. And then blend it. All right. And then you can, you know, obviously go real far and do this for hours or weeks, right? Perfecting this stuff. occlusion shadow right there. Right there, see? So you've got great shapes, great anatomy, great rendering, and on the value front, you can push in, and don't be afraid. Once you kind of set it up with your planes and everything, you can feel confident to push in a little bit more. And this one has, the photo helps a lot. So the photo really gives you that clarity. It's like single source lighting. Perfect for that, Awesome. And even look at the light. See, everything facing the right gets the light. Everything turning to the left gets the shadow. So this eye socket, this eye could be darker, right? It's just in the shadow. I'll make that warmer, a little bit warmer. So when you go into the shadows, you can warm it up just a little bit. A little warmer. Oh, is that what that is? That's too warm. Anyway, you kind of get the picture, I think. This stuff is, when I squint down, it gets pretty dark, and it follows the logic. And yeah. All right, Chavi, another great entry, and we'll look forward to future submissions and stuff. Okay. Andre, you still here? All right. Looking good. Wow, looks like my Discord's going crazy. I'm going to shut it down. Okay. This looking good. Looking good. Let's see. Yeah, have a little bit of a alignment problem here in the eyes. It looks like that right eye is a little higher than the left eye. And so we want to make sure these features line up parallel to each other. Otherwise we're going to get, if we get a little bit skewed, it's going to affect our ability to get a likeness. So make sure things are parallel, and setting yourself up for that right at the beginning. But that's, that's a little bit of an error there. But I think your shading's looking a lot better. It's getting better, Andre, for show. You feel that? Okay, you're still here. Good. All right, so I'm just gonna like push in again. We want to get these plane changes in here so we have more structure. Remember, when you add value, you're adding structure. And so I'm just looking at the photo, and I'm kind of squinting and comparing, and seeing how I can build some more structure in there. Where's the plane moving away from the light? Where is the light? Here it's top left, right? So everything facing left is going to get the light. Everything facing down and to the right is going to get the shadow. Remember, you're going to have a highlight, a half light, a core shadow, reflected light. So there's my core in there. It's very subtle. It's very subtle, but it's there. And then you've got next to that, you have reflected light right next to the jaw. And so I want to take that jaw, move it in a little bit because it's a little wide. Oops. I feel like there's too much space here. Right, just moving it in just a little bit. And there's that overlap there. But the distance from the edge of the eye to the contour of the face, maybe I can sheet that in, just move it in just a little bit. And then that ear, it's just in the shadow. There's not really much to talk about there. When I squint down, it just disappears just about. So don't play it up, play it down. Okay, so that helps a little bit. But nice job here in the cheek, chin, and neck integration. I would make that neck in a little bit softer. Softer in here. Right, so these edge distinctions become the next level, right? It's like here is crisp, here is soft. So when you do your edge pass, like in here is soft. So add a little tone right there. Let me just make it lighter here. Okay, here. Right, it's more of a softer shadow. Looking good. That's nice. Now, you know, it's like you're 80% there. And we're just refining it. Just maybe pushing in a little bit here and there. You know, so when I'm doing this, I'm adding a plane and I'm adding structure when I add value. And it's like you're pushing clay in. When I add a dark tone, I'm pushing the clay in into the shadows, right? And notice when I put something dark here, right there, it makes something light here in this area push out. So it's that push-pull thing. And so not only am I darkening something and making it recede and push in, but it has the illusion of making something else bump out. And that's what I want. And then if I beef up the hair right here, you see how the hair is moving away from the light, moving towards the light, then moving away from the light. Does that make sense? It's like rolling out of the shadow towards the light and then moving back into the shadow away from the light. Okay, so that's why it gets the highlight where it is, and I'll just use some tone to create that. Just get the basic shape, kind of value shape, it blocked in. Just thinking, you did a lot better on the hair. I remember you've come a long way, Andre, with the hair, which is really cool. I just tucking in, putting that back in the shadow there. And then how it moves from the light into the shadow. That's where you can put a few textures, a few hairs, because that's that transitional half tone into the core shadow is where you get the texture. where you get the details. You know, so leave that area for, pull out a few lights, and then just let it go in the shadow, you know. Like that. Okay. Oops. B. This is not going to be perfect hair. I'm trying to just go a little bit quick. And then yeah, the eyes look cool, but I see like there's definitely, you know, it's in shadow, so you can push it a little bit more. You know, around the edges, there's softer. There's softer edges where those occlusion shadows are, where the um, upper lid meets the bone of the eye socket. It's sort of kind of soft right there. It's a round shape and it rolls into the shadow. Right, that gives her the eyes a little depth, right? So again, just like Chavi, I think you did some nice clear shadows. That's awesome. Now you could refine it just a little bit, push in just a little bit into those kind of the half tone and some of the softer shadow areas to define the forms a little bit more. Like that lid right under her lower border or lower lid, just a little bit right there. And voila. Let's say that upper lip is facing away from the light, so it's going to be darker than the lower lip, which is facing up and receiving the light. You know what I mean? And pretty much that's it. I'll kind of maybe stop on that, but I like it. And perhaps, you know, this part here is a little too big. So I'm just going to move it up a little. I'm going to try. Let me see. And then that's going to affect the other side. Right, if I shorten the chin in the vertical, if I shorten the face in the vertical dimension, it's going to affect the width. So then I have to kind of like, you know, bring it in here just a little bit. All right, love it. Andre, making progress. You can be definitely patting yourself on the back. Yeah, get those alignments in real quick, those structural things right at the beginning, and then you won't catch that halfway or all the way through your drawing and be like, oh man. Just take your time. Awesome, thank you, Andre. All right, this is a very special illustration right here. Art Azure. And this is kind of a conceptual piece, an illustration that seems to be communicating some experience. You bet, Andre, you're welcome. So it seems to me this guy's breaking through the old the static, the dead, right? And entering into a new personality, a new realm. It's almost like he's ascending into heaven, right? You've got the God cloud, the vertical, the arms open, he's looking up, so he's moving up into the light, away from the darkness. And so I get the sense that he's being, reborn. All the old is coming off, and the new, symbolized by the colors, is taking form, is replacing it. So that's beautiful. It's a really beautiful piece. I love the face, the expression on the face. I love the concept, you know. So I totally get, I think, what you're saying. And I think the anatomy looks good. And so maybe, maybe it's possible to go on here, to make this statement perhaps a little stronger. Let me just see if I want to try something. Like if we put a solid color over there. Oops. Let me see if I just okay. Put a solid color over there, knock it back just a little bit. And whenever you want something to shine through, especially light, you can put it next to something muted and dark. So if you want light shining through, you put it next to something muted and darker. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of have a little more of a focus with the light coming down, bouncing off this guy's forehead and chest. And maybe it's a little bit more chiaroscuro, a little bit more dramatic. Right? Create a little halo around him. And play up that light dark thing. I want to be real subtle with it. And so we have a little bit more of a focus, because right now we have so much going on that it's competing, like the clouds here and the values and the colors are competing with all the colors and values here. So you can strategically use your color accents and values in a certain place a little bit more and less in others. And then another thing you could do, just in terms of the clouds, is I'll just give this like a rough kind of thing. Just kind of give the clouds some edges. I'm going to hide these. So that the light comes from behind somewhere. because wherever there's light, there's shadow. And so clouds they follow the laws of light as well. So they have let me see. Um, no, couldn't get it back. And so they're going to have highlights and halftones and reflected lights and stuff like that. So I'll keep that central one pretty bright. And so you have to play around with it a little bit. So you could have that dark, moody sky, you know, with the shafts of light coming out behind. And then perhaps he could be, you know, a little bit even darker to set him apart from that sky a little bit. Right, so heavy shadows up top and then less so as the light falls off. Just pulling him out just a little bit. And maybe, I don't know if we need like a little light line around him just to sculpt him out just a little bit. And this stuff, this is not easy stuff, right? You have to study the clouds and study light. For these little edges of stuff, you know. And then you've got little speckles of white there. That's interesting. So I'm just kind of pushing it back just a little. I can go through some of these blend modes and see what might be better, if anything. Where's the multiply? Let me see. Multiply, a little too dark. And then I can pull it back. Let's see. Right? Can make it a little bit lighter. And so that's fun. You know, this is a really fun piece. You know, there might be clouds here receiving light, but just getting the edges of the light that's coming up above. So now, like you had, you know, you've got the tops of stuff. So you're really creating this atmosphere. But not too much. I don't want a bunch of stuff all over the place, you know. You know, those dark, moody clouds you see in the sky. There's those really dark darks, and then there's light just peeking from behind. Like in beautiful ray. And there's that central shaft. You can't see the top of it. I can put that on maybe like a color dodge or something like that. Color dodge. Ooh, too much. Ooh. So fun. Light. He definitely has to be lit up. So light contrasted with dark, warm against cool, and then it plays up the drama. A little bit. You know, and I don't want to go too far because I know this is like your really special piece, you know. I'm just trying to suggest perhaps a little way to communicate the transformation a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, you have to look at your reference, right? There might be some heavy shadow. Oops. Yeah, you did a nice job. Just keep adding layers and layers and layers. But I like it. It's beautiful. And then he's things are probably glowing off the top of his head too. That might be too much. So fun. You could mess with this for hours. Hours. So anyway, guys, I think this is gonna wrap it up here. I really wanna just remind you there's a sale going on over there at Draw Juice. 40% off, up to 40% off of my courses, mentorship, bootcamp, books, and all that stuff. Join the Discord server if you want to be part of a community and of artists growing. And I want to wish you guys all a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for participating. Totally wonderful to see you guys again. Be safe. Yeah, Andre, you're welcome. Appreciate you being here. And yeah, probably won't be doing a stream for the next 2 weeks. So have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Be safe. And I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. Bye-bye.